It's an interesting background you have, Jeremy.
I'm hoping to get out sometime soon on good behavior.
This is a lot of participants. I feel like this is very high pressure now.
Okay, welcome everybody to some life-saving little shortcuts that we have to share with you for Schoology. My name is Melonie Sebring. I have the privilege of teaching at Kenwood Trail Middle School. I am going to share some of my favorite things that help save me time when I'm working in my Schoology courses. And then I'm going to have my our lovely host go next. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Liz.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz Sabrowski. I teach science, 6th grade at KTMS. So I will just be showing, again, some of our favorite hacks for making sure Schoology flows smoothly, so that way we don't waste all of our time with the learning management stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys do us a favor and mute while we're presenting, and we'll have plenty of time for question and answers. If you want to throw in a question in the chat while we're presenting that's related to what's going on currently on the screen, then I will answer questions right after I present before Liz goes, and then she'll answer about hers afterwards.
Yeah, and I will record this in case you want to come back and watch in the future. So I'll just start that right now.
Okay, Liz, will you give me the thumbs up if you can see my screen, okay?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right. So this is my coding Schoology page, and one thing I wanted to point out is that when students come into my course, notice that they have their link right away to come into our class, our coding class, since we are presenting every half an hour for each course, for each hour, every day of the week. And my students will only see their hour when they come into my class. So for me, it looks very busy and it's a lot of links. But they only see the link for their particular section. So I have all 5 of my coding sections in this one course, so that when I make changes to my course, I make changes for all of the sections. But I just want to show you when I view the course, and that's just right here where it says course options, this drop down, I view the course as one of my students. This is a first hour student. This is what it looks like for that particular student. So she only sees the hour 1 link and sees the time for hour 1 for our coding class. So she doesn't see everybody else's hour, it's just her particular class. And that's true for each of my sections. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, all you have to do is when you add any particular item, and this is true for anything that you add in Schoology, just select your section that you want to see that item. So here are all my sections. So notice that hour 1, period 1 is the only one that can see the hours for hour 1, that hour link. So that's true for anything that you would add, a discussion, an assignment, a link, anything in Schoology, which is, I think, kind of fun and nice. Keeps the kids or the students' Schoology pages lean and easier to find things that they need to find. Also, since we are now distance learning, I think communication with the students is the absolute key. So something that you might consider doing is emailing students all at once in your course. Let's say that you're sick and you're not going to be able to be live with them even the night before. You can come into your course options again. This is one of those kind of time-saving, lifesaver little drop-downs in your course. Go to send message. And then you can pick and choose, do you want to send it to all of your sections at once, or do you want to send it to just particular periods or hours where you might be gone? Maybe you have an appointment and you only want to send it to 6th hour because they're the only class that you'll miss that day. Also, you can choose if you want to send it to just parents, and then members would be just your students. And then you can type your message. Also, you can even record a message if you want to send a video or audio recording. I think that's kind of fun sometimes. Sometimes I'll do that if it's a short message and I'll just read the message to them. Or I'll just say, hi guys, thanks for reading this message. It's really important. So those are the kinds of things that students appreciate, and communication is going to be huge for these next several weeks or however long we're distanced. Something that you guys might have run into as teachers, and if you didn't do this, see in my course where I have my students, I had them in Group A and Group B folders so that they would go into their particular folder depending on their group. I didn't set up groups. I know that's something that people can do, but I didn't do that. Something that happened is that some of my assignments were duplicated. So I had, in Schoology, I had to exempt or excuse students from some assignments. So just in case that happened to you, I just want to show you, if you had an assignment, so you guys can see this class discussion was duplicated because I had it for A group and B group. So once they got a score, then I would excuse the other one so that it wasn't coming up for their parents. They didn't get an email that said this class discussion is missing because they actually did do it. So to get that option, see where the little flag is, you just click on that flag and click excused, and then you have the little green hexagon there that pops up, okay, like a little stop sign. So you can excuse that, and then they won't get that message anymore that they are missing that item. Okay, now I'm going to go into my materials and share with you guys a few things that I do like having where my students are doing assignments. So for my students starting next week, they won't have A or B anymore, so they'll just come into their week 4 quarter 2 folder, and they're going to come in to, let's say it's Tuesday. So one thing that's really nice to be able to do is to post something that students have to complete. And it'll give them a little green check mark, and it's easy for us to check that they did it as well, just to be sure they viewed something. For me, it's always watching a video. So here's their tasks for Tuesday, but I'm going to add a video link real quick. So I would go into my Flipgrid, grab the link to the video, post it real quick, say something like watch this video, and then I'm going to add that for students. So then you see this, watch this video down here. Now I'm going to go to options. It's right next to add materials, and I can go to student completion. See the little green check mark? And I can add the requirement that they must view this video. And then I'm going to just save changes so that when students are in their course, they're going to see this as a must-view item, and they'll get a green check mark when they're done watching that video. When they click on the video, they can watch it. While we're here, something else that I really like doing, especially when students are using that Black Schoology app, is I like for their items like this video to go out into another web page or tab. I don't want it to play in Schoology. If I click this video right now, it's going to play in Schoology, and I don't want that to happen, okay? So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go edit this item, and I'm going to click this little, it looks like a little piece of paper with ABC on it. It says display in Schoology. So I'm going to click on that, and now it's going to take it out into a new tab or window. And so now when I click on that, then I totally leave Schoology. That way, if they want to go back to their Schoology tab or back to the Schoology app, they'll have those as separate windows, and they might have to go back, and maybe there's some instruction here that I want them to look at. But that's how you send something out of Schoology into another window or tab. So, and you might not like that. You might prefer to have things stay in Schoology. That's totally fine. It's defaulted to stay in Schoology, so just leave that alone, and it will stay right where it's located. The last thing that I'm going to share with you, and then I'll take questions because I know I went over everything very quickly, is I like to use, as you guys can see, my tasks for Tuesday that is showing up right here for students. That's actually what we call a page, adding a page in Schoology, because I can add text, I can add pictures, I can add all sorts of links within this one screen that students see as soon as they click on my daily folder. So they don't have to have another click to get into what the tasks are. So I would say something like tasks for Tuesday, and then I would start a list. Usually I do a numbered list. So watching a video, something like that. I can even add pictures here. Like I could have my list of things, of assignments, and then under it I could add an image. I like to do that a lot because it's a coding class, so I like to add images of things, what it's going to look like to them when they are finished with their assignment so they know that they're done. So Pages is a really, really nice way to share information with students all in one line. And notice you can add files here. You can also add a little message and record something for them here. The big thing with adding Pages, the way that I use it, is that you do need to have it display on the new page. So let's say I create that without clicking that. This is what it's going to look like to them. They're going to see tasks for Tuesday, but they're not going to see the list. So I would have to go back in and be sure that that's going to display for them in line, and then they would see that list. So when they come into our week 4 and they click on Tuesday, they're going to see all of that right away, and they don't have an extra click to get into the tasks. Okay, I know that I can't see the chat, so I'm going to let Liz ask questions. Or if people want to unmute and ask questions, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Liz, I can't hear you.
I'm muted. One question we have is that, is it possible to connect courses from different schools? I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm sure we could check with our librarian. I feel like our tech people would probably know better. I have not seen between different schools, so I don't know what that is. And then Christian says, can you have it set up where they have to watch the video before they have access to complete the worksheet? And the answer is yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so when your student progress options, oops, that's showing you that they're done. In the options, then you can add the requirement must be completed in sequential order. So then under this video, I would add the requirement of the worksheet. I don't have something to choose here, but I would have the worksheet posted. I'd be able to choose the worksheet, and they would have to watch the video before they could move on to the assignment.
Yeah, and one thing I just want you to know is that sometimes it does glitch out for students. So even if they look at whatever you want them to, they watch the video, sometimes they do have a little bit of a struggle getting into the quiz just because their Schoology doesn't update. So they might just come back to you and say, oh, hey, I still can't access it even though I've looked at the page. So it might take a little bit of time for that to work out. So just so you know that. It can be a bit of a frustration. You cannot connect a section of your Schoology to another teacher's as far as I know, but you can share materials within resources, so that way you cut down on that work, and that's what I'm going to talk about next.
Yeah, I also have, like, for example, I work, of course, with the coding teachers from McGuire and Century quite a bit, and I have made them admin members of my course, so they are welcome to use anything that I have. We share amongst ourselves to make our courses the best we can for our students.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a really nice tool as well. Any other questions before I move on to my topics?
Thank you guys for listening and watching.
All right. Hey Mel, can you give me back my presenter rights? Thank you. All right, Mel, is it good to go? Awesome. Okay, so I have a few things that I'm going to talk about today. So going back to that question about how can we share materials between teachers that are teaching the same topic. So my favorite thing to use is resources. So if I come into my resources, you can see on this left side that there are a bunch of different areas where I can share with different groups of teachers or just keep all of my materials ready to go. So you can see right here that I have a 2019-2020 physical science folder. And so if I ever want to go back and grab an activity from last year, it is stored in here, which is very, very nice. And now this year, I'm storing all new activities right here in my 2021 folder. Making a resource is really nice because you can, if you've not connected your courses on Schoology, you can easily create a course here and then add it individually to each course. If you teach an honors course and a normal course, it's a nice way of having similar quizzes or assignments, but you can easily change directions between the two of them without having to completely retype the entire assignment or add in whatever document you want. So if you add in a resource, you can just click this button right here. You can see that it's all of the same list as if you were adding it within your normal Schoology page. So for example, what I want to do today is I want to add an assignment. And this is really nice, and something that we've noticed, oops, I guess I can't do it in here. That's okay. We're going to add in an assessment. Assessments are wonderful because they are the new form of test quizzes, and they offer a lot of really great extra tools that your kids can use. I found it nice for science and math particularly because it allows them to use embedded tools such as calculators, rulers, all of that fun stuff. So if I'm just going to make a new one, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So you'll see it looks very similar to Test Quiz where you can add in your instructions, you can do all of the settings. If you come over into the question, or if you come down here into the assessment toolbar, you'll see there are a couple things. You can see that students can use a calculator during attempts, so that way they don't have to pop out into another calculator during a test or quiz, which is fantastic. And they can also use a ruler or a protractor. Students can also highlight text or use a notepad, so if they're doing like a longer reading or if they want to take notes, that's super nice as well. If you come into the questions portion, you'll see that there are a lot more options for adding in questions. So obviously the main ones are multiple choice, true, false, all the ones that you would find within tests and quizzes. But you'll see that there are a few others that you can also add. So you can do something where it's called a highlight hotspot. So if you want kids to highlight an image or if you want them to circle something within a picture, this is a great question to add. So that way you can see what they're doing and they can submit it and they've been able to circle or whatever they need to. You can also do a math short answer, which is where you can add in equations, which is very nice, and also things like number lines and charts as well. So assessments is really great. It's an awesome new tool. I would say that the one downside is that you can't use it within the white Schoology app at the moment. It is not compatible, so kids do have to use that black Schoology app, so that way it's in Safari. And then one other downside I just want to point out is that if you create this and you accidentally type in the wrong answer for, say, a multiple choice or true and false, and you've already added it to your course, I've seen that it doesn't update if you go and you change the answer. It will not change the student's grades, so you will have to do that by hand. So that's just making sure that you slow down and check all the answers, because that has happened to me before where I realized, oh, I put in the wrong answer, and even though I've changed the answer inside of my course, it still doesn't update those students. But I really like using assessments because it offers all of those great tools. And since I'm with sixth graders, we are doing a lot of math and graphing and all of that kind of stuff, so it's definitely a step up. And then so what you can do is you can add this directly into your course. So if I choose that wheel button right there, I can add to my course, and you can see that all of my courses are connected together. So I just need to click one button, and I need to make sure that I put it into the correct folder. And then I can just choose due date, so I'll just choose the 20th, and then making sure that I put it into my homework grade. So once I add that, I can come back into my courses. And you'll see that right here down at the bottom, I have that professional development. And now kids can go and access it. They can answer any questions that I've posted. So I really like that. And then another thing that I want to talk about is adding in an assignment through Google Slides. So I know that a lot of teachers they have students make a copy inside of their Google Drive and then they have them share it with you. To be honest, that kind of clutters up your Google Drive. So another really great way to do this is to add an assignment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose that add assignment. And if you come down to the Google Drive assignments, it will pop up into everything that you have up. And if you aren't able to find where you're looking for, you can just search within Google Drive. So I'm going to search for a document that I've made. So you can see I'm going to choose the volume Rainbow Lab. And then what I can do is I can attach that. And you'll see that this will create a copy of your file for each student. So now students do not have to pop into their Google Drive. They will not need to make a copy of your assignment. You don't need to worry about anything like that. And it will all stay within Schoology, so they can answer those questions in Schoology and then submit it. And then you have the option of grading it and not having to look back to see, oh, have they submitted it into my Google Drive yet? Have they shared it with me? So that's really nice. So I'm just going to add this, and then what you'll see is when I click on this assignment, this is the teacher side of it. You'll see that in this in progress, all of my kids, they are currently have not opened it yet. So it's a nice way of monitoring, have my students started this assignment, or is it something that I need to remind them about? And then when they submit it, their submissions will pop right into here. You can choose the section that you want, and then you can just grade it right inside of here. So it's a really nice tool, and it kind of cuts down on students clicking through things. And then finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is the calendar. So if we go into the calendar right here, you can click this little calendar icon. And then obviously these are for my A and B groups, so I won't be doing that anymore. But it's just a nice way of posting what kids need to do. And they can access this, they can see it through their own. So for example, when I added that PD and I gave it that due date, you can see that it now pops into our today assignment. So they can come into their calendar, they can see a list of everything they need to do, and they realize, oh, I need to do the professional development that's due at 11:59. But if you don't want to make an assignment that has a due date, you can also add it by clicking on the plus sign up in the right corner. So if you choose that, you can put in your title, and you can put any description that you want, and then you can create it, just making sure that that date is correct. And so now that assignment is right there, but there's no due date, so maybe you don't want your students to upload anything, you just want them to complete it or know that that's what they're doing in their WebEx for the day. And so that is waiting for them there, so in case they are the type of student that wants to be able to see that and see the full layout in front of them, calendar is a really great option. So again, I know that I went through that very quickly, so I'm happy to take any questions. But those are some of my favorite tools to make sure that I have a smooth flowing Schoology.
One question is about the Google assignments. Does that work better with the black or white Schoology app, or does it not matter?
I actually don't believe that it matters. I haven't checked in with my students, or at least I have not gotten any complaints about it, so I think that it doesn't matter which one you use. If students are worried about it, they could always go through the Black Schoology app, as that one seems to work a little bit better with connecting to Safari and that Google Drive. So it's kind of up to what happens when students actually open their iPads.
Okay, we're happy to answer any questions that you have at this point. Thank you for being here. We appreciate everybody wanting to learn more about Schoology. And if anybody wants to unmute and ask questions, please feel free.
I have a question in the grading. Now that we're getting into quarter 2, is there a way to condense or not show quarter 1 assignments?
Yes. What you can do is you can go and hide those folders that those assignments are inside of. So I can share my screen and show you that. Can you see it? So on here, so if you come into my grade book, all of the grades that I have currently are for quarter 2. And what I've done is inside of my course, I have, so if we choose my learning group A, you'll see that I have a quarter 1 folder where I've stored everything, but I've hidden them, and when you hide them, it takes them out of the grade book. So for every quarter you have, you can just do that, so that way you don't get like all the clutter from quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3 grades popping up on each other.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another question in the chat, if you are an admin on someone else's course, is there a way to not get notifications for the stuff their class is doing but still receive my own? Yeah, you want to show them that?
Do you have to go into the settings?
Yes.
So if you go into your settings underneath your name, this is a great question. If you go into notifications, you can choose what type of notifications that you get. So you can turn off anything that you don't want to see, especially if you're a para or if you are not, if you're not a co-teacher. That's really nice. But you can still access everything that you want without getting those notifications. So that way you don't see 1,000 student responses or turn-ins in your email.
Okay, and then another question, is it best to mark things as missing or give zeros in the grade book or leave it blank so it registers for the students? So for us in Schoology, we actually encourage our parents to look in Infinite Campus for grading because in Schoology, well, the issues with like the duplicate assignments has been a problem, and sometimes assignment scores don't pop in like they're supposed to or populate in Schoology. But what I do is I leave it blank, and then it will send out that email to parents that there's something missing in Schoology. I think it kind of depends on what you want, but like I said, at Kenwood, we have our parents look at Infinite Campus for their actual grades. Liz, if you want to say anything else about that, I'm not sure if I answered that question.
Yeah, and then what I have right now, which it'll be different obviously because we're going into distance learning, but you'll see that in my gradebook it's slightly different because I have assigned learning groups to my A and my B students, and I'm actually not planning on getting rid of those just because in case we go back to hybrid in the spring, I won't want to reset up those groups. So what I've just done is I have assigned every single group to the folder that I've done for A and B. But you'll see that here if they aren't in one of the groups, it completely grays it out. But then I leave it blank if, for example, a student is missing something that they are working on, because that way they know that they need to go back in and they need to check it.
Well, and I would say too, definitely don't put a 0 because that's going to seem like they tried the assignment and got a 0 on it. If you only marked with an M for missing, that would be one thing, but I would just leave it blank is the best way to go unless they've actually, unless you exempt it.
Yeah, and then I do most of my grading in campus, so I just transfer those grades over individually, and then if a student is missing something, then I just mark it as missing, so that way it updates their Infinite Campus whenever they check that. Plus, then parents also get those emails that they're missing that assignment, or whatever that grade is, for example.
Really good questions, everybody. Keep them coming. The more we share with each other, the better. I think everybody's anxious about next Monday, and we just want to feel very prepared. And this is how we help each other out.
Yeah, and I would say the best way to do this is just to practice it and just to add in those assignments and see, are kids able to access them? Are they struggling with anything? And then just go from there, because I feel like sometimes it glitches for one teacher and it's totally fine for another. Just our technology doesn't sync up always, so you gotta try it out on your own.
Is there a way to put in an assignment but not have it for credit?
Inside of Schoology? Yeah, you can. What you can do is, I'll just share my screen again. What you can do is when you're making an assignment, so for example, if you're making it in here, you can set it for 0, or you can put it in the category ungraded. And then if it's ungraded, it won't show up in your Schoology gradebook as far as I know. But if you just put it for 0 points, then that's another way to do it as well.
Yeah, the ungraded is a really nice option for that, Heidi.
You can see that they're doing it. Like if you check into the assignment, you can see that if they've completed it. You can also do this if you're adding in a quiz or assessment. So same thing goes if you're adding in that test or quiz or assessment. You can just, again, that category is ungraded, and it will do exactly the same thing as the assignment. So that way you see that they're doing it, but it doesn't. It's not something that forces you to grade it.
I've got a question. So I've got my classes linked, but like I have a Newsella code that I wanted to give to like just my 7th period and then a different one just for my 8th period. Is there a way to like temporary unlink them or just put it in that 1 hour?
I would just put it in that 1 hour.
Yeah.
Would not mess with trying to unlink them.
Mm-hmm.
Just
If you put a link, it means it causes all of your grades to disappear, I believe. So if you've already linked everything, I wouldn't recommend doing it now that you're already this far into the year.
So I would just like on one page just say 6th hour, like click here, 7th hour, click here, 8th hour, click here.
Yeah, you could do that. Or you could create a learning group if you wanted to. So if you come down here into members, you could create a 1st hour group. So you could organize that, add that grade. So I could choose everyone from my 1st hour and then assign that group to that folder.
Okay. I've never used the members that before. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You also set it up like, I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning, it was like one of the first things I did, where I have my links for each of my class periods, and it only shows up for that particular class period, so the rest of the class periods don't see it.
Yeah, that's also a really great tool. Probably easier than setting up grading groups at this point in the year. Do you want to do that again, or?
Yeah, do you mind showing that, Liz, since you already have presenter rights?
Yes.
It's really easy click where you get to choose who sees that item.
Yeah, for example, for my office hours, if I, back to course. If I want my office hours to only be seen by my 1st hour, what I can do is I can click into there, and then I can choose sections to customize, and I can just choose my hour 1. So that way, if you're in my hour 2, 3, 4, or 7, you will not be able to see my office hour link anymore. All right, any other questions? That's weird. When I unpublished all of my stuff from quarter 1, it took it out of the gradebook. That's interesting. I will look into that, Jess, and I will send you a message if I figure it out.
Yeah, it might be something in the settings, so we'll figure that out and send a screenshot.
All right, well, hopefully everyone learned a little bit more about Schoology, or you got some questions answered. If you have any more questions, I'll be in here until, I think, 11 o'clock doing a Q&A. So if you want to stick around, feel free. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.